Hey everybody, this is Kim Beal with But First Football, Kim's version. Talk to you a little bit about what's going on in Tampa Bay. Today was the last day of minicamp, and from all accounts it was extremely successful. Sorry, I bit the inside of my mouth and it hurts. I keep biting it. Anyway, it was very successful. I cannot speak properly now. And I think probably one of the most exciting things is the wide receiver room. Everybody is going crazy over our incredible wide receiver room, and I think with good reason. It'll be very exciting to see Chris Godwin getting back on the field. And just a side note on Chris, he is adding Junior to his jersey to honor his dad who died last year. And now that Chris is a dad, that is extra meaningful for him. So it will be Godwin Jr. on the back of his jersey this season. Mike Evans was interviewed today, and he just talked about the great feeling in the wide receiver room. And he also mentioned how cool it was that Jerry Rice reached out to him and is excited about him potentially breaking his record. He tied the record this year. So kudos to Jerry Rice for being just an all-around cool guy. A couple of on-the-field things that I think are pretty exciting. The Bucs offense, according to NFL Network, their little newsletter, is actually predicted to be number 2 in the entire league this season, which I can totally see that. If Baker has, any kind of year like he did last year with all the tools that he has around him, I don't see how this cannot be true. So that would be fantastic. And the other little tidbit that was in that very same newsletter is that Judy Batista, I think is her last name. She is one of the reporters for NFL Network, and she's really cool. She has Baker as one of her dark horse MVP candidates. And again, I think that is awesome because he really should have been there last year, honestly. So those are a couple of very cool on the field little tidbits. And then I thought it was very funny today on Good Morning Football. They were having a little segment about who would be your ideal neighbor, a current player or coach who would be your ideal neighbor. And a lot of people were saying Jameis Winston because he's so funny. And then Kyle Brandt said he would rather have someone really quiet as a neighbor, and he chose Todd Bowles. So he wants Todd Bowles to be his neighbor because he thinks Todd is so quiet, and they would just every day maybe say hi, bye, single word, exchanges, and that it would just be quiet, and that Todd's lawn would always be beautifully manicured, and everything would just be ideal. So, and that's probably true. That's probably very true. And so then I started thinking about, well, who would my ideal neighbor be? And of course, I only think Bucs. So I thought, well, I think, obviously Baker would be a fun neighbor to have. And I know that Baker has game nights with a lot of the guys, and, maybe he'd invite us, and that would be good, although I'm not super good at games. And then I thought, oh, well, Tristan Wirfs, he could be fun. He would be a fun neighbor, and I would always feel very safe having such a large neighbor. And then I decided that actually the one I would choose as my neighbor would, in fact, be Chris Godwin, because he's such a dog lover and an animal lover, and he has adorable dogs. And so I would vote for my neighbor to be Chris Godwin so I could pet his adorable dogs. And, I would babysit his baby. I'm a good babysitter. So that's what I thought about that. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty quiet for the next few weeks until training camp officially ramps up in July. Coach Bowles was kind of funny in his press conference today, talking about how important it is for the guys to work out outside and not just inside during this time, because again, the heat and the humidity here is really to our advantage. And I think, if I haven't shared this before, I'll tell you now, that I have a theory. We should really only play 1:00 games especially when we're playing any sort of cold weather team, because they can't deal with it. If you recall, last year, we destroyed Philadelphia, the Super Bowl champions. We destroyed them. We had a 1 o'clock game here, and they were so sluggish, and they could not move. And we had a great game. So I know that the 1 o'clock time slot is not the most popular. It's not what most people want, but I'm all for it. And again, I would love to see us play on primetime, except we don't typically play well in primetime unless it happens to be the Super Bowl. So I am okay if we don't have any primetime games, even though, again, like the ideal would be, let's have a lot of primetime games. That means we're popular and everybody wants to see us. But I am definitely all for the 1 p.m. super hot, super sweaty, wear down the other team kind of games. So, anyway, that's really it. That's all I have this week in terms of the Bucs. And again, just reminding everybody, this is their 50th season, so there's a lot of hoopla going on about that. So I think it's going to be a really fun season as far as that goes. But I am very ready. Oh! I did last week when I told you I was judging a model thing for the Tampa Bay Fashion Experience, which is Tanika Bull's brainchild, and it was fun because Jamel Dean was there, and he had just, I think I mentioned last week, walked in Miami Swim Week, so he was there and he looked really good, and it was just fun to see him out and about in the community. So that was last week. Other than that, I think that's about it. We're about to have a pretty big thunderstorm, so I'll probably just go ahead and sign off. There's also a very large bird on my lanai, and it looks like it's hunting for something. I'm not sure what that is all about either, but it's distracting me because it's like opening its very large wings, and they're very large wings. So anyway, that is it for But First Football, Kim's version, Bucs version. And I will be back at you next week with some more Bucs talk. Until then, peace.